If really we went big into stablecoin in this country, what effect could that have on the strength of the dollar? Because people might have to hold dollars in order to match against it, or even for treasuries.
Well, we are going big on digital assets. So Trump administration has made digital assets a priority. Past administration starved and almost made extinct a lot of these companies and pushed it offshore. So what we want to do is apply the highest U.S. regulatory and AML standards to digital assets, especially stable coins. And I've seen estimates that just over the short term, stable coins could create $2 trillion of demand for U.S. Treasuries and Treasury bills. To put that in context, the number is probably about $300 billion right now.
Tether is the company that created the first stablecoin in 2014. Stablecoin is a digital asset, but it's a digital dollar. So in 2014, we look at this great technology called blockchain, and we thought, okay, instead of creating yet another token, as many do, we put the most used currency in the world on top of this beautiful technology called blockchain. And that currency was the US dollar. So since then, for the first 6 years, USDT has been used as the most predominant asset for cryptocurrency trading. But in 2020, with the advent of the pandemic and national economies going down the bin in all the emerging markets in developing countries, the adoption of USDT as the digital dollar for all the hundreds of millions of people, the billions of people that are called unbanked or underbanked around the world, skyrocketed. So as of today, we have more than 420 million users across the emerging markets in developing countries, and we are growing at a pace of 30 million new wallets per quarter, almost like we were Facebook in a certain sense, because the interest of having a stable currency when you live in Turkey, where you have inflation of 50% year over year, or like in Argentina, where the Argentina peso lost 98% of its value against the US dollar, is just astronomical. So it's also our growth is word of mouth.
But the US dollar devalues too.
We have 152 billion in
152 now
in issued tokens, and we have 172 billion in total reserves. We have more than 125 billion in U.S. treasuries, and the rest is very, very high liquid assets. We own more treasuries than Germany. Well, Tether is not a nation, but if we were a nation, we would be the 18th largest nation holding U.S. treasuries. We have more treasuries than Germany, UAE, Spain, Australia, and we are growing. Our approach is keep growing our U.S. treasuries base. We only keep the short maturity, like less than around 90 days. We think that is the best approach to create the most solid digital currency in the world.
If this is all above ground, it sounds like everybody's winning here, because you emphasize it's a force multiplier for the U.S. dollar. It's not going to supplant the U.S. dollar. It actually enhances the attractiveness, I guess, or the leading, as the leading currency of the world. It probably adds to that. And I would think that the U.S. would be happy someone's holding our treasuries if we're worried about sovereigns or other countries, lightening up on treasuries. You might be the people buying the treasuries.
Well, last year in 2024, Tether was the 5th largest purchaser of U.S. treasuries. When you have Japan that needs to defend the Japanese yen, or like China that, they are selling T-bills at a very fast pace, then I think that we are proving with Tether that we are a company that created three new important features for currency. Okay. The first one is financial inclusion, with 420 million people using our product that, they have been underserved by the traditional financial system. That is a great feature. But then on top of that, we are spreading the US dollar hegemony. I think that we are the stronghold for the US dollar hegemony. When we are in Africa, in Central South America, there is very little US presence, but there is a lot of BRICS presence. And on top of that, there is Tether.
Feel that he's advocating for you inside the administration? What's that relationship like now? And how should the public think about that?
Well, we have a Chinese wall between us in this moment. There could be conflict of interest, so we are not allowed to talk to him. Yet we maintain a great relationship with Cantor Fitzgerald. We custody all our treasuries there. They are a great firm. They are the first firm that in Wall Street started to really care about Bitcoin.
Well, you're based in El Salvador, and I guess we'll have some regulation here, but you can understand why people would certainly want to know more and have a lot more transparency. I think that's what we're getting at. And I would think that isn't the Trump coin sort of a competitor to you eventually, or not?
Well, it's different, right? Trump coin is a meme coin.
Not that one, the stable coin. Liberty, whatever it's called.
Yeah, World Liberty Finance, I think you're referring to. We welcome competitors. This night I saw that big banks are going after our business model. Well, actually not our business model. I think that mostly the difference is that we serve the people that the banks would not touch with a 10-foot pole, not because they are bad people, just because they are too poor of being of their interest. All the hundreds of millions of people living in Africa and in Kenya, Nigeria, and all that, right? So I'm very confident.
Are exploring the possibility of a joint stablecoin to compete with the crypto industry. Joining us now to discuss is Tether and Worldwide Asset Exchange co-founder William Quigley. Is that surprising that banks are gearing up to do that and challenge a Tether?
The only surprise is how long it's taken for them to do it. There's probably some part of this related to the Genius Act, which is the U.S. Congress's new set of regulations for what would make a stablecoin legitimate in the U.S. And so they're seeing a lot of regulatory clarity on what a stablecoin would look like, at least as far as regulation goes. And of course, there are so many tremendous benefits to having a stablecoin. There will be many companies that issue them, hence why we need legislation to say this is what they should look like. And I think they're probably hoping that if they come together in a consortium, one major stablecoin backed by all of these different banks, that it'll gain popularity, maybe be the dominant one. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of benefits to this, from real-time settlement, which is something that's always been something banks would love to have, but it's hard to do because there's so many intermediaries involved in moving money from one account to another. And then, of course, you have other benefits, like as tokenized finance comes about, decentralized finance becomes more popular. It'll be very useful for stablecoins to exist because they're often used in the settlement of those types of financial instruments. And I say that because there's a variety right now. There are a variety of different types of stablecoins. You have the privately issued stablecoins like Tether. You have stablecoins that are being developed now, central bank digital coins that countries will issue. They're tokenizing their fiat. And then you have decentralized stablecoins that are done by companies like Make or Die. This is a different animal, this bank consortium-led stablecoin. And I would even suggest that maybe calling it a stablecoin isn't technically correct. When we think about a stablecoin, we think something that's on a blockchain, accessible to anybody who has an internet browser, can be transferred between different people, and is free-flowing. I don't think that's what this is going to be. I think the main thrust of this, the bank-issued consortium stablecoin, will be back-office efficiencies. I even wonder how much savings will be passed on to the end consumers, because there will be a lot of savings by getting rid of many intermediaries involved in the movement of money.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Scott Besson telling you the playbook again. And you know I've been speaking about it for years and also wrote about it. Stable coins are going to be the savior for the United States dollar and this economy, but it's going to be controlled. Remember, they ran the simulation doing the C word. And right now, Tether is the biggest, but it won't be for long. We now have the big banks are about to come in, and we know they move trillions of dollars daily. And most of it is done digitally, but we're still in a fractional reserve lending system. And now we're going to be moving into blockchain real-time settlement where you know the funds are good. And we have the big banks coming together with a joint stablecoin, but we know it's going to be connected to the Fed, and we know DeFi is definitely the new banking. And it's going to be freeing up trillions of dollars in liquidity. And we have Trump wants the iPhone made in the U.S. 25% tariff on iPhones until they made here. And we know all that's doing is just putting more pressure on the United States consumer because we know the sheep are still going to buy. Nothing wrong with their current phone. They just want something new. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, but they're definitely going to be paying the price at the end. But Trump knows that he wants to bring manufacturing back to the United States because he knows the bots are going to be doing the work. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have shipbuilding not only done by the machines, but also manned by the machines. Not a human in sight. And if you look closely on those robots, NASA and GM, and I told y'all a long time ago, I took my son to this museum and they had these same exact robots on display, and it was all the car companies. And this was back in 2019. So just imagine how long DARPA has been working on this type of technology. And there was a joke going around on social media that 100 men couldn't beat a silverback. 1,000 men wouldn't be able to beat one of these machines. And you're going to have billions of humanoid robots. You can't make this stuff up. Remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And while the sheep sleep, the NWO builds. And never forget, my people perish from the lack of knowledge because they reject it. It's sitting right in front of your face. And remember, the crypto teacher gives you the truth, none but the truth. Yes, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. But because I'm giving you the truth, you're going to hate me. But just remember, I'm just a watchman on the wall. These machines can work 24/7. They don't call out. They don't talk back. And they're going to increase productivity. And you'll be able to sit at home and get free money. But they're going to send you inside the metaverse. And we know if they can download you, they can delete you. And we know this is definitely biblical. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
What do we think about the long-term future of stablecoins? I mean, it does appear, given, of course, the administration's support, World Liberty Financial issuing one as well, it's not like they're not going to be here to stay, right?
Right, and you've got White House crypto and AI czar David Sachs just saying this week that he's a big believer in stablecoins. He thinks that it will unlock trillions of dollars worth of demand in U.S. treasuries virtually overnight. He said that on our air this week. And it's because of the fact that it is this free, it's not free, but it's an inexpensive global payment network that's essentially free advertising for the U.S. dollar.
Right, because you have to buy all the treasuries to back it.
Exactly.
In U.S. dollars.
And it allows for transactions at virtually no cost across borders and things of that nature.
Precisely. And so that's why you've got Sachs backing it. He says that there's a lot of bipartisan support, and he did see 16 Democrats kind of come to the table to support it this week.
You had a note out early on saying it's a fairy tale to move production back to the United States. What do you think the administration is after here? What can Apple do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Pinocchio story, a fairy tale, the reality of actually having iPhone production in the U.S. Because in my opinion, that would take 4 to 5 years, 20 or 30 billion, even to move 15, 20% of the supply chain. And then if you actually produced iPhones in the U.S., you'd be looking at $3,500 iPhones. And so I view it as Apple's situation is they try to pivot around India, and that was a smart strategy. And now look, backs against the wall. It was a Twilight Zone day today for any Apple investor, given Apple's done all the right things in terms of pivoting out of China and now saying come to the U.S. That's fairy tale.
Right. Secretary Besant was interviewed on Fox earlier and made some comments around this, but basically saying that, it's a supply chain, particularly for semiconductors, that is a concern, and that's where they want to see Apple move their their part of their supply chain back. Is there anything that Apple can do more surgically to satisfy the administration in terms of an investment on the semiconductor side in the United States?
No, it's a great question. Look, just for someone like myself, 25 years, spent so much of my time in Asia, in China, Taiwan, Vietnam. The reality of doing this, it sounds great behind a microphone in the Beltway. But the reality is when you walk through fabs in Taiwan and you walk through what you see in China, that's going to be here. Again, if you want $3,500 iPhones, we should make them in New Jersey. And I think the problem is that from when it comes to the semi world, and I think Jensen and NVIDIA are seeing this firsthand, is that it's the IP of the supply chain. How's it built? Where are the chips? Where are the raw materials? And that's why for Apple, look, especially like WWDC is going to be a strong event, and they are in a massive position, in my opinion, from an install base perspective when it comes to AI. But they are right now back against a wall that they've been put into because they're in the eye of the storm in terms of this tariff trade war.
On Apple, you said this morning that if they don't make their iPhones in the U.S., you're going to hit them with a 25% tariff. Right. Do you have the power to tariff one single company? And why would you want to hurt an American company in that way?
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on, I guess, the end of June. It'll come out. I think we have that appropriately done by the end of June. So if they make that product. Now, again, when they build their plant here, there's no tariff. So they're going to be building plants here. But I had an understanding with him that he wouldn't be doing this. He said he's going to India to build plants. I said, that's okay to go to India, but you're not going to sell into here without tariffs. And that's the way it is. Yeah.
Well, why would you hurt an American company?
What makes you confident, sir, that Apple can build in the United States at a price that American consumers?
Oh, they can. No, they can. And a lot of it's so computerized now. These plants are amazing if you look at them, but they can do that. And actually, as you know, Apple's coming in with $500 billion. So are the chip companies. We have all of the chip companies coming in. The biggest, $500 billion, $200 billion, $250 billion they're spending. But we're talking about the iPhone now, and the iPhone. If they're going to sell it in America, I want it to be built in the United States. They're able to do that.
When you say that Walmart should eat the cost.
And one funny moment there, Brian, as the president was talking about iPhones, the phone on the Resolute desk in front of him rang, and he looked over and picked it up, and he said it was a congressman calling him. But he said, I asked him, was that an iPhone that just rang? He said it was. So as he's talking about iPhones, he's on the iPhone. iPhones are ubiquitous in American society and ubiquitous in the Oval Office as well.
But in recent years, we've been building significantly less compared to China, who's now dominating the industry. President Trump, however, has recently promised to reverse that.
I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon.
Now, one AI leader aims to make America the #1 shipbuilding leader again by building the world's toughest AI-powered humanoid robot. Founder of Persona AI, Nick Radford, joins us now to explain. Hey, Nick, thanks for joining us. So, explain to us, what is your plan for making America the shipbuilding leader of the world again?
Yeah, I think we can make America industrious again for sure, and we used to have that. When you look back into the 40s and when we were building the Liberty ship, we were building 3 Liberty ships every 2 days. So clearly we have the kind of capacity to do this. But it's going to take a seriously organized effort. There's a lot of great companies, including ours at Persona, working on problems similar to this. But the heavy industries have really been out of the equation, and shipbuilding obviously falls into part of that. But it's going to take a judicious deployment of industrial AI and robotics to be able to bring these things back. And we've been lucky enough at Persona to be to license some great technology from NASA, some of the things that you're seeing here. And we think those are going to be directly applicable to how we want to deploy these robots into these heavy industries like shipbuilding.
So the problem here, obviously, is, and the reason we kind of lost our mojo, is that building ships is a very dangerous business. And your idea is to create actual humanoid-type robots that are able to do the hardest, most dangerous aspects of shipbuilding. Is that correct?
No, absolutely, and it's a pretty unforgiving environment if you see how the process is done. We don't have the workforce that's going to enable this sort of resurgence, and so what we're going to have to do is supplement that with a lot of these advanced technologies, and they're hypercritical. And there's a race right now in the humanoid world. We're no longer discussing why humanoids, but how many and how fast. And there's a flurry of activity happening in this industry, and it's going to be, I think, one of the most transformational moments. And the shipbuilding process is just hyper complicated. So the way we're approaching it is building the world's toughest humanoid that is able to handle the complexities of this kind of environment. While most companies are building humanoids for the indoors, we're going outside. We're going outdoors into the harsh conditions that exist in a lot of in the work that's done in these shipyards.
And do you get the sense that does China already use robots in their shipbuilding, or are they still kind of analog when it comes to building ships?
No, absolutely not. This is actually one of the things that we are most concerned about is that the Chinese have exceptional capability here. In fact, they rank in the top when it comes to the number of robots deployed per 10,000 workers in these kinds of industries. And so only second or only third to Singapore and South Korea. So the U.S. has a long way to go to catch up to modernize our manufacturing processes of the ones that are included in shipbuilding. But I wouldn't bet against America, I can tell you.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.